I wasn't supposed to see this. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. The message on the screen was so clear, so horrifyingly clear. Make it look like brake failure. No one will suspect anything. My husband, the man I've loved for 12 years, the man who kisses my forehead every morning before I leave for work, the man who holds my hand during movies, was planning to kill me. My name is Dorothy Clemmons. I'm 38 years old, and up until that Tuesday morning, I thought I had the perfect life. I'm a forensic accountant, which means I spend my days following money trails, uncovering fraud, finding the lies people think they've hidden so carefully. The irony of what I'm about to tell you isn't lost on me. I can spot a financial criminal from a mile away, but I couldn't see that I was sleeping next to someone who wanted me dead. I live in Connecticut, in one of those beautiful suburban neighborhoods where everyone waves at each other and the biggest scandal is usually whose dog isn't on a leash. My husband Julian is a real estate developer. Successful. Charming. 42 years old with silver threading through his dark hair that makes him look distinguished. We've been married for 12 years. We made the choice together not to have children. We wanted to focus on our careers, travel the world, retire early and spend our golden years exploring. That was our dream. Our shared dream. Or at least I thought it was shared. Julian and I had what everyone called a storybook marriage. We had date night every Friday without fail. We'd try new restaurants, go to the theater, sometimes just drive to the coast and watch the sunset. We finished each other's sentences. We had inside jokes that would make us laugh until we cried. Our friends would look at us and say, "That's what we want. What you two have." And I'd smile and squeeze Julian's hand and think, yes, I'm so lucky. So incredibly lucky. Just 3 weeks before that Tuesday, we'd celebrated the biggest financial milestone of our lives. My Aunt Bernice passed away. She was 91, lived a full and beautiful life, and I was her favorite niece. She left me everything. $4.2 million. When the lawyer read the will, I cried. Not because of the money, though I won't lie and say it didn't matter, but because Aunt Bernice believed in me. She'd written me a letter that came with the inheritance. She said, "Dorothy, you've always been brilliant and kind. Use this to build the life you've dreamed of. You deserve every happiness." Julian had been so supportive when we got the news. He held me while I cried over losing Aunt Bernice. He helped me plan her funeral. He told me we should use some of the money to finally take that trip to Japan we'd been planning for years. He was perfect. Supportive. Loving. Everything a husband should be. But that was 3 weeks ago. This is now. And now everything I thought I knew was a lie. It started so mundanely. That's what gets me. It was just a normal Tuesday morning. I woke up at 5:30 like always. Julian was already up, dressed in his gym clothes. He kissed my forehead, told me he loved me, said he'd be back by 7:30. We'd have breakfast together before I left for work. This was our routine. Our comfortable, predictable, safe routine. I got up, showered, got dressed in my gray suit, the one Julian always said made my eyes look brighter. I went downstairs to make coffee. That's when I noticed Julian's phone on the kitchen counter. He'd forgotten it in his rush to get to the gym. He's been stressed lately, working on some big commercial development deal. Forgetting his phone wasn't unusual. I poured my coffee, sat at the kitchen island with my laptop, ready to check my work emails before the day officially started. That's when my phone screen went black. Dead battery. I'd forgotten to charge it overnight. I stared at it, frustrated. I had an important email I was expecting from a client, something I needed to review before a 9 a.m. meeting. I looked at Julian's phone sitting there on the counter. We'd always been transparent with each other. We knew each other's passcodes. We'd never been one of those couples with secrets and locked phones. If I needed to use his phone, I used it. If he needed mine, same thing. Trust. That's what our marriage was built on. Complete and total trust. So I picked up his phone. Entered his passcode. 6283. The same passcode he'd had for years. Our wedding date, June 28th. The phone unlocked. And that's when the notification appeared at the top of the screen. A text message. From a contact saved as RG Contractor. The preview said, "Got the parts. Her car's in the garage tonight, right?" I stared at it. Something about it felt off. Wrong. Why would a contractor be asking about my car being in the garage? We weren't having any work done on the house. And what parts? I felt this little twist in my stomach, this instinct that something wasn't right. You know that feeling when your body knows something before your brain catches up? That's what this was. I should have put the phone down. I should have waited and asked Julian about it when he got home. But I didn't. Maybe it was my forensic accountant brain trained to follow threads that don't quite add up. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was fate. I don't know. But I opened the message thread. And my entire world exploded. I scrolled up. The messages went back weeks. Weeks. This wasn't a recent conversation. This was planning. Detailed, careful, methodical planning. RG had written, "Brake line cut is cleaner than you think. She takes Route 7 to work. That hill near Pembroke curve is perfect." Julian's response, "She leaves at 6:45 a.m. sharp. Always alone." I couldn't breathe. I physically could not get air into my lungs. This couldn't be real. This had to be some kind of sick joke. Some misunderstanding. But I kept reading and it got worse. RG again. "The curve has no guardrail on the south side. Car goes over, it's a 100-foot drop. No one survives that." Julian, "What about investigation?" Police. RG, "Brake failure. Happens all the time. Her car's a 2018 model, right? Those have had recall issues. No one will question it." My hands were shaking so badly I almost couldn't hold the phone. But I kept scrolling. I had to see it all. I had to know. Julian, timeline. RG, "Give me 3 days to get everything I need. Then one night when she's asleep I'll handle it. 5 minutes in the garage, she'll never know." Julian, "And you're sure this will work?" RG, "Brother, I've been a mechanic for 20 years. Trust me." Then came the message that made me actually gasp out loud, a sound that echoed in the empty kitchen. RG, "Life insurance plus inheritance, you'll be set. And you'll finally be free to marry Sloane." Sloane. Who is Sloane? Julian's response, "Can't wait. Playing devoted husband is exhausting." I ran to the kitchen sink and vomited. Everything in my stomach came up. Coffee, bile, the remains of last night's dinner that Julian had cooked for me, that romantic meal where he'd told me he loved me, where we'd talked about our future, where he'd held my hand across the table and looked into my eyes like I was his entire world. It was all a lie. All of it. I looked at the clock on the microwave. 7:43. Julian would be home in less than 15 minutes. I had 47 minutes before he walked through that door expecting to find his loving wife, clueless and trusting, waiting to die. But here's the thing about being a forensic accountant. I don't panic. I analyze. I document. I build cases. And Julian had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because he forgot his phone. And I found it. He wanted me dead for $4.2 million and a woman named Sloane. He thought I was just his naive wife who trusted him completely. But what Julian didn't know, what he'd somehow forgotten in his greed and his lies, was that I'm very, very good at my job. I find secrets for a living. I uncover conspiracies. I follow trails that criminals think they've erased. And now I was going to follow this one. Because I had 47 minutes to start building the case that would save my life. Before we continue with what happened next, if this story is gripping you, if you need to know how Dorothy survives this nightmare, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what comes next will shock you. And here's my question for you. If you found messages like this on your partner's phone, would you confront them immediately, or would you stay silent and gather evidence first? Let me know in the comments, because Dorothy's choice in those next 47 minutes determined whether she lived or died. Now let me tell you what she did next. I stood in my kitchen staring at my husband's phone and something inside me shifted. The panic, the nausea, the shaking, it all crystallized into something else. Focus. This is what I do. This is literally what I'm trained for. I investigate fraud. I build ironclad cases. I find evidence that holds up in court. And right now I had 47 minutes before the man who wanted me dead walked through that door. My forensic accounting brain took over. First rule of investigation. Secure the evidence. I opened Julian's phone and started screenshotting everything. Every single message between him and RG. I didn't read them carefully, there wasn't time for that. I just captured them one after another, my fingers moving fast across the screen. 53 screenshots in total. Then I opened my laptop and logged into my private email server, the one I use for sensitive client work, the one that's encrypted and backed up to 3 different cloud services. I uploaded every screenshot. Sent them to myself. Then I sent copies to a second encrypted email account I keep for emergencies. Because here's what I knew. I couldn't just call the police. Not yet. Think about it. What did I actually have? Text messages that could be explained away as jokes, as some kind of sick prank. I could already hear Julian's lawyer. Your Honor, my client and his friend have a dark sense of humor. These were obviously not serious. They were referencing a movie plot they were discussing. Without concrete proof, without something undeniable, this was just he said, she said. And Julian had something I didn't. Connections. He sits on the police charity board with Chief Brenneman. They play golf together every month. Julian's donated over $100,000 to the police benevolent fund over the years. You think Chief Brenneman is going to believe that his golfing buddy, his generous donor, is actually planning to murder his wife? Or is he going to think I'm a hysterical woman misinterpreting text messages? I needed more. I needed proof that would be impossible to deny. The messages mentioned someone named Sloane. You'll finally be free to marry Sloane. Who is Sloane? I opened Julian's contacts and scrolled through. Nothing. No Sloane. But then I thought, if he's planning to kill me, he's probably smart enough not to have his mistress saved under her real name in the phone I might see. I went to his recent calls. Third number down, called 15 times in the past week alone. I didn't recognize it. I opened his text messages and found the number there too. Saved as SH Work. The messages were deleted, but the contact remained. Could be Sloane H something. I did what any forensic accountant would do. I ran the number. There are databases, resources I have access to through my work. Within 90 seconds I had a name. Sloane Hendricks. And an address. And an Instagram profile. I clicked on her Instagram and my heart stopped all over again. Sloane Hendricks. 28 years old. Beautiful. Long auburn hair, perfect smile, the kind of woman who looks like she stepped out of a magazine. And I recognized her. She was Julian's executive assistant. He'd hired her 18 weeks ago. He'd mentioned her exactly once, casually, like she was nothing. Got a new assistant. Frees up my schedule so I can spend more time with you, babe. I scrolled through her Instagram. And there was photo after photo that made my blood run cold. Sloane at the beach in Turks and Caicos. The same beach Julian and I went to for our anniversary. Except this photo was posted 2 weeks before our trip. Julian had been there with her first. Then he took me to the same place, probably the same hotel, and pretended it was special and new. Another photo. Sloane at a restaurant in Manhattan, the one with the Michelin star where Julian surprised me for my birthday. Her photo was dated 3 days before my birthday. He'd taken her there first. Rehearsed the whole thing. Then performed it again for me. More photos. Sloane hiking in Vermont. Sloane at a vineyard in Napa. Every single place Julian and I had been together in the past few months, she'd been there first. Our entire life, our marriage, our special moments, he'd been test running them with her. I was the copy. She was the original. I heard Julian's car pull into the driveway. I had maybe 2 minutes. I put his phone exactly where he'd left it on the counter. Wiped the screen with my sleeve to remove any fingerprints. Grabbed my own phone, plugged it in like I'd just done it. When Julian walked through the door, I was sitting at the kitchen island with my laptop, looking completely normal. He kissed the top of my head. Hey babe, sorry I forgot my phone. Everything okay? I smiled up at him. My face didn't betray a single thing. Everything's perfect. How was the gym? Good. You want breakfast? I'll make us omelets. And I sat there and ate breakfast with him. I laughed at his jokes. I told him about my day ahead. I was an actress giving the performance of my life, and the audience was the man who wanted me dead. The moment Julian left for work, I called my office. Hi Jennifer, it's Dorothy. I'm so sorry, I woke up feeling awful. I think it's food poisoning. I need to take a sick day. Jennifer told me to feel better, to rest. I'd never called in sick before. I was the employee who came in with the flu. But today I needed time. Because I had work to do. I went straight to Julian's home office. He has a desktop computer there, separate from his laptop. I knew his password for that too. We'd always been so open, so trusting. What a joke that was now. I logged in and opened his financial software. We had joint accounts, but I hadn't looked at them in detail in months. We'd both been so busy. I trusted him to manage things. Big mistake. I pulled up our main checking account. And I started seeing patterns. Withdrawals. $3,000. Every single week for the past 4 months. $52,000 total gone. The memo line said, property expenses. But I'm a forensic accountant. I know what property expenses look like. I pulled up the business account. The actual property expenses were all documented there, legitimate and accounted for. These withdrawals were something else. I traced them. They went to a secondary account I'd never seen before. From there, they were transferred to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Julian had been systematically siphoning money from our joint account, $3,000 at a time, small enough that I might not notice in the day-to-day flow, but over time adding up to a significant amount. My inheritance hadn't even fully cleared yet. The estate was still in probate. But Julian wasn't waiting. He was already stealing from our joint savings, the money we'd saved together for our future. Our fake future. Then I found something else. A drawer in his desk that was locked. I'd never noticed it was locked before. Why would I? I had no reason to snoop in my husband's desk. But now I had every reason. I found the key in his pen holder hidden inside a fake pen that was actually a little container. Inside the drawer was another phone. A second phone. A burner phone. The kind people use when they don't want anyone to know who they're calling. I turned it on. It was password protected, but I tried our wedding date again. 6283. It worked. Julian wasn't even creative with his passwords. And there they were. More messages to RG. But these were more explicit, more detailed, more horrifying. RG's real name, I discovered from the contact info, was Russell Gage. I googled him. Russell Gage graduated from Yale same year as Julian. They'd been roommates, fraternity brothers. After college, Russell had struggled. Failed business ventures, a messy divorce, bankruptcy. He owned a small mechanic shop now in a rough part of town. Barely making ends meet from what I could see in public records. The messages between Julian and Russell on this phone went back 6 months. Long before Aunt Bernice died. But they intensified after she did. Julian had written, "Dorothy's will leaves everything to me. 6 weeks after the funeral, no one will question us getting together." Russell replied, "You sure you can pull off the grieving husband act?" Julian, "I've been pulling off the loving husband act for 12 years. 6 weeks will be easy." I had to stop reading for a moment. I walked to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. Looked at myself in the mirror. The same face I'd seen that morning. But everything was different now. The woman in the mirror was married to a monster. I went back to the phone. Found the financial arrangements. Julian had paid Russell $75,000 up front. There was a Venmo transaction marked as loan repayment to make it look legitimate. Another $75,000 was promised after job completion. $150,000 total. The cost of my life, apparently. The cost Julian was willing to pay to get rid of me. Then I found messages between Julian and Sloane on this phone. And these were love messages. The kind Julian used to send me when we first started dating. Except these were recent. As recent as yesterday. Sloane, "Once Dorothy's gone and we have the money, we're moving to Monaco like we planned, right baby?" Julian, "Of course. Just a few more weeks of playing devoted husband." Sloane, "I can't wait to be Mrs. Clemmons. The real Mrs. Clemmons." Julian, "You already are in my heart. Dorothy's just an obstacle. A temporary obstacle." I screenshot everything on this phone too. Sent it all to my encrypted email. I had evidence now. Real evidence. But I needed more. I needed video proof. I needed something so undeniable that even Julian's connections couldn't save him. I pulled up Sloane's LinkedIn profile. Harvard MBA. Impressive on the surface. Daughter of the Hendricks family, old money from Boston. But when I dug deeper, I found the cracks. Sloane had dropped out of Harvard after 1 year. Her family cut her off financially. Public records showed she was drowning in debt. Credit cards, personal loans. $340,000 in total debt. Collection agencies were after her. She was desperate. And desperate people do desperate things. Julian wasn't just offering her money. He was offering her a lifestyle. A way out of her debt and into the life she thought she deserved. I was the only thing standing in the way. I sat in Julian's office, surrounded by all this evidence, and I realized something. I couldn't just hand this to the police and hope for the best. I needed to catch them in the act. I needed video proof of Russell tampering with my car. I needed recorded confessions. I needed something so airtight that there was zero chance any of them could walk away. I picked up my phone and called Keiko Yoshida. Keiko was my lawyer, but more than that, she was one of my best friends. We'd gone to law school together before I switched to forensic accounting. She specialized in criminal defense, ironically. She understood evidence. She understood what would hold up in court. Keiko, I need help. Can you come over right now? Dorothy? What's wrong? You sound terrible. My husband is trying to kill me. There was a long silence. Then Keiko said, I'm on my way. Don't do anything until I get there. Keiko arrived 20 minutes later. I showed her everything. The screenshots, the financial records, the second phone, Sloane's Instagram, Russell's background. She sat on my couch, her face getting paler with every piece of evidence I presented. Dorothy, this is insane. We need to call the police right now. And tell them what? My husband's friend is planning to cut my brake lines? They'll bring Julian in for questioning, he'll deny everything, he'll say it was all jokes, and then I'll be a dead woman within a week. He'll just find another way, Keiko. And next time I won't see it coming. Keiko stared at me. So what do you want to do? I want to catch them in the act. I want proof that's so undeniable they can't talk their way out of it. I want to make sure Julian spends the rest of his life in prison. That's dangerous, Dorothy. If anything goes wrong. If I don't do this, I'm dead anyway. At least this way I have a chance. Keiko thought for a long moment. Then she nodded. Hey, what do you need? I need irrefutable proof. Video evidence. Recorded confessions. And I need you to document everything for legal purposes. If something happens to me, I need this evidence to survive. Nothing is going to happen to you. We'll make sure of that. But Dorothy, this is going to require help. You can't do this alone. I know. I'm going to call my brother. Devin answered on the second ring. Sup. You never call during the day. Devin is my younger brother by 4 years. He works in film production, does camera work and audio for independent films and documentaries. If anyone could help me set up surveillance that Julian wouldn't detect, it was Devin. Devin, I need your help with something. And it's going to sound crazy. Okay, now I'm intrigued. Lay it on me. I need you to help me install hidden cameras throughout my house and a recording device in my car. What? Dorothy, what's going on? Julian is trying to kill me. And I need to catch him in the act. There was a pause. Then Devin said, I'm leaving New York right now. I'll be there in 2 hours. Don't do anything until I arrive. True to his word, Devin arrived with a car full of equipment. Professional-grade hidden cameras no bigger than a button. Audio recording devices. Everything we needed. Keiko stayed with me the entire time, both for moral support and to document the chain of custody for all the evidence we were gathering. Devin installed cameras in every room of the house. The living room, the kitchen, the garage, the bedroom, Julian's office. Tiny cameras hidden in picture frames, in smoke detectors, in books on shelves. He installed a GPS tracker on my car and a recording device in the undercarriage that would capture audio and video of anyone who approached it. This is military-grade stuff. Devin said. Everything's streaming to a secure cloud server. Even if they find the devices and destroy them, the footage is already saved remotely. And I've set it to send alerts to my phone if any of the cameras detect motion during unusual hours. By the time we finished, it was late afternoon. Julian would be home in 2 hours. Devin and Keiko left, but not before making me promise to call them if anything felt wrong. I mean it, Dorothy, Keiko said. The second anything seems off, you call me. I'll have the police there in minutes. I promised. Then I was alone in my house that was now filled with hidden cameras, waiting for my husband to come home so I could pretend everything was normal. Julian arrived at 6:30, right on schedule. He was in a good mood, humming as he walked in. He kissed me, asked about my day. I told him I'd spent it resting, feeling better now. He made dinner. Grilled chicken with roasted vegetables. We ate at the dining room table, making small talk. And here's the thing that broke my heart all over again. He was good at this. He was so convincing. If I didn't know what I knew, I would have believed that this man loved me. He asked about my work. He told me funny stories about his day. He reached across the table and held my hand. He looked into my eyes with such warmth, such apparent affection. I'm so lucky to have you, he said. I don't know what I'd do without you, Dorothy. You're my whole world. I smiled and squeezed his hand back. I feel the same way. You're everything to me, Julian. And all I could think was, you're planning to murder me in 2 days. You're sitting here looking at me with love in your eyes, and you've already decided exactly when and how I'm going to die. After dinner we watched a movie together on the couch. Julian's arm was around me. I leaned into him like always. We were the picture of domestic bliss. And the whole time hidden cameras were recording every moment. As we were getting ready for bed, Julian mentioned casually, "Hey babe, don't forget you have that early client meeting Thursday morning. You'll need to leave by 6:30, right?" I was brushing my teeth. I looked at him in the bathroom mirror. "Oh right, I almost forgot. Thanks for reminding me. Route 7 is fastest, right?" My heart was pounding but my face stayed calm. "Yeah, Route 7. Same as always." For just a second, just a fraction of a second, Julian's left eye twitched. A tiny muscle spasm. Most people wouldn't have noticed. But I'd been married to this man for 12 years. I knew his tells. "Route 7, he repeated. "Yeah. Be careful on that route, okay? People drive crazy in the morning." "I'm always careful," I said. Then I kissed him goodnight. We went to bed. Julian fell asleep within 10 minutes like he always did. I lay there next to him in the dark, listening to him breathe, and I thought about how this was the man I'd trusted with my life. Literally. I'd trusted him with everything. And he'd spent months planning how to take it all away from me. If you're watching this and you can't believe what Julian did next, make sure you're subscribed because what happens in the next 24 hours will absolutely shock you. This is where Dorothy's plan either saves her life or gets her killed. And here's my question for you. Would you have the courage to sleep in the same bed as someone you knew was planning to murder you? Would you be able to play along knowing what was coming? Let me know in the comments because what Dorothy had to do next required more courage than most of us will ever need in our entire lives. Because Wednesday night was when Russell was going to tamper with my car. And I was going to record every second of it. Wednesday evening, Julian came home from work and I could tell immediately something was different. He was jittery, couldn't sit still, kept checking his phone. We had dinner, leftover pasta from the night before, and he barely ate. He kept looking at me with this strange expression like he was memorizing my face. At the time I thought maybe he was feeling guilty. Now I know he was just making sure he could play the grieving widower convincingly. At 8:30 his phone rang. He looked at the screen and stood up quickly. "Babe, I'm so sorry. That's the office. The Riverside deal, there's a problem with the contracts. I need to go in and handle this tonight." I looked up at him from the couch where I was reading. "Tonight? It can't wait until morning." "I wish it could. But we're closing tomorrow and if we don't get these signatures tonight we lose the whole deal. I'll probably be there most of the night. Might just sleep on the couch in my office." Julian sleeping at the office wasn't unusual when he had a big deal closing. He'd done it dozens of times over the years. It was one of those things I'd accepted about being married to a successful real estate developer. But this time I knew exactly what was really happening. This wasn't about a deal closing. This was about giving Russell Gage access to our garage without Julian being home. Plausible deniability. If anything went wrong, Julian could say he was at the office all night, had no idea what Russell was doing. "Okay," I said, keeping my voice light and understanding. "Good luck with the deal. I'll see you tomorrow." He kissed me goodbye. Held me a little too long. Stroked my hair. "I love you, Dorothy. You know that, right?" "I love you too," I said. The lies were getting easier. That scared me. After Julian left, I sat in the dark living room and waited. Devin was monitoring all the camera feeds remotely from his apartment in New York. He'd given me a tablet that showed live feeds from every camera, but I was too nervous to watch them all at once. I kept the tablet face down on the coffee table. I'd know when Russell arrived because Devin was going to text me. The hours crawled by. 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. At 11:43 my phone buzzed. A text from Devin. Someone just entered the garage. Recording everything. My hands started shaking. This was really happening. Right now, at this exact moment, a man was in my garage preparing to kill me. I picked up the tablet with trembling fingers and switched to the garage camera feed. There he was. Russell Gage. I'd seen his photo online, but seeing him in my garage in my home was different. He was a big man, probably 6'2", heavy-set, wearing a dark hoodie and gloves. He'd come in through the side door of the garage. We never locked it because it connected to our backyard and we had a fence. Such a small thing not locking that door. Such a deadly oversight. Russell moved efficiently like he'd done this before. Maybe he had. Maybe Julian wasn't the first person he'd helped murder. The thought made me sick. He went straight to my car, a silver Honda Accord, and slid underneath it on one of those mechanics creepers. The camera Devin had installed had night vision and was positioned perfectly. We could see everything Russell was doing. He had a toolbox with him. I watched as he selected a wrench and began working on something under the car. The brake lines. He was cutting my brake lines. The recording device picked up audio too. I could hear him muttering to himself as he worked. 15 years since I'd done one of these. Still got it. 15 years. That meant Russell had done this before. Definitely. My skin crawled. It took him 12 minutes to cut the brake lines in a way that wouldn't be immediately obvious. He did it carefully, strategically, so the brakes would seem fine at first but would fail completely once I started going downhill. Pembroke Curve. That's where Julian wanted me to die. That's where Russell was engineering my death. But Russell wasn't done. He rolled back under the car and started working on something else. The steering column. I couldn't see exactly what he was doing, but from his movements and the tools he was using, it looked like he was loosening something. Making sure that even if by some miracle the brakes didn't fail, the steering would. This wasn't just a murder attempt. This was overkill. They wanted to be absolutely certain I wouldn't survive. Russell finished at 11:57. 14 minutes total. 14 minutes to turn my car into a death trap. He slid out from under the car, stood up, brushed himself off. Then he pulled out his phone and took photos of his work like he was documenting it. Proof for Julian that the job was done, probably. Or maybe insurance, evidence he could use later if Julian tried to stiff him on the payment. Then Russell pulled out his phone and I watched him type a message. My own phone was synced to Julian's phone records through software Devin had helped me install. Within seconds I saw the message Russell sent to Julian. Done. She won't make it past Pembroke Curve. I waited, holding my breath, watching my phone. 10 seconds later Julian's response came through. Perfect. Tomorrow I'll be a grieving widower. Tomorrow I'll be a grieving widower. Not even pretending to be sad about it. Just stating it as a fact, as a role he was about to play. Like he was preparing for a performance, memorizing his lines. I screenshot the messages. Added them to the evidence file. Devin had everything recorded too, backed up to multiple secure servers, but I wanted my own copies. I wanted to be holding this evidence myself. Russell left the garage the same way he'd come in, through the side door, disappearing into the night. I sat in my dark living room holding the tablet, watching the empty garage on the screen. My car was sitting there looking perfectly normal. You couldn't tell by looking at it that it was now a murder weapon waiting to kill me. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I sat on the couch until the sky started getting light. At 5:30 in the morning my phone rang. Julian. Hey babe, deal's finally closed. I'm exhausted. I'm going to grab a quick shower here and head straight to my morning meeting. Won't be home until tonight. You have your early meeting too, right? Yeah, I said, keeping my voice sleepy and normal. Leaving at 6:30. Drive safe, okay? I love you. Love you too. He wanted to be far away when it happened. Wanted to be in a meeting with witnesses, establishing his alibi, when his wife's car went off the road and she died in a fiery crash. He'd thought of everything. Or so he believed. At 6 o'clock I got up and got dressed. Put on my navy blue suit, the one I always wore to important client meetings. Did my makeup. Fixed my hair. If anyone saw me leaving, I needed to look exactly like I did every other Thursday morning. I needed to look like a woman who had no idea she was driving to her death. Devin had parked his car 2 blocks away the night before and walked to my house through the neighbors' backyards. He was waiting in my guest room upstairs. We'd called Detective Carmen Ortiz at 5 a.m. Carmen was a state police detective I'd worked with 2 years ago on a major fraud case. I'd helped her follow a money trail that led to the arrest of a corrupt city official who'd embezzled $3 million. Carmen told me then that she owed me one. I never thought I'd need to collect on that favor. But here we were. Carmen had listened to everything I told her. Reviewed all the evidence I'd sent her overnight. She'd been horrified. Furious. And she'd immediately started putting together a plan. He got a warrant. She assembled a team. And she told me exactly what to do. At 6:25, I walked out my front door like I did every Thursday morning. Briefcase in hand. Purse over my shoulder. I walked to my car in the garage and I knew Julian was watching. He'd come home while I was upstairs with Devin. I'd heard the front door open quietly. He'd snuck in, trying not to wake me, probably wanting to be there when I left. Wanting to watch me drive away to my death. I could feel his eyes on me from somewhere in the house. I clicked my car remote. The lights flashed. I opened the driver's side door. Sat in the driver's seat. Put my briefcase on the passenger seat like always. Put the key in the ignition. And then I got out of the car. I closed the door quietly. Walked out of the garage through the side door, the same door Russell had used. And I walked straight to where Devon was waiting in his car 2 blocks away. I got in his passenger seat and I let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for 2 days. "You okay?" Devon asked. "No. But let's finish this." We drove to Pembroke Hospital 15 minutes away. Detective Ortiz was already there with her team. We went inside into a private conference room she'd secured. And we waited. At 7:10, Devon's colleague Marcus, an actor friend who owed him a favor, made a phone call to Julian's cell phone. Marcus had an official-sounding voice, very grave and serious. I couldn't hear what Marcus was saying, but I knew the script. We'd rehearsed it. "Mr. Clemmons? This is Pembroke Hospital Emergency Department. There's been an accident on Route 7. Your wife Dorothy Clemmons. You need to come immediately." Devon was tracking Julian's phone location. We watched as Julian, who was supposedly in a meeting at his office building downtown, immediately started moving. Fast. Racing toward the hospital. But Julian made another call first. We were monitoring his phone records in real time. He called Sloane. I couldn't hear what he said, but I could imagine. "It's done. It worked. She's dead." Maybe he was crying, practicing his grief voice. Or maybe he was laughing. I didn't know anymore. I didn't know this man at all. Julian arrived at Pembroke Hospital at 7:38. He ran into the emergency department, frantic, playing the terrified husband perfectly. "My wife, Dorothy Clemmons, I got a call. Where is she? Is she okay?" The nurse at the desk looked confused. She checked her computer. "Sir, I don't show anyone by that name admitted this morning." "What? But I got a call. They said there was an accident. She was brought here." That's when Detective Ortiz walked out. She wasn't in uniform. She was in plain clothes, her badge clipped to her belt. Behind her were 4 more state police officers. Behind them was me. I stepped out from behind Detective Ortiz and I watched my husband's face. He saw me standing there, alive and unharmed, and his face went completely white. Not pale. White. Like every drop of blood drained from his face in 1 second. "Dorothy," he whispered. You're okay." "I thought," they said. "Julian Clemmons," Detective Ortiz said, her voice formal and cold. "You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder." 2 officers moved forward, pulling out handcuffs. Julian stumbled backward. "What? No, this is a mistake." "Dorothy, tell them this is a mistake." I just looked at him. Didn't say a word. Just looked at the man I'd loved for 12 years, the man who'd tried to kill me for money. "You have the right to remain silent," Detective Ortiz continued as the officers cuffed Julian's hands behind his back. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Julian was shaking his head frantically. "I don't understand." "Dorothy, please. Tell them. We're married. I love you. I would never." "Never what?" I finally spoke and my voice was steady. "Strong. Never plan to murder me? Never pay your friend $75,000 to cut my brake lines? Never plot with your mistress about how you'd spend my inheritance after I was dead?" Julian's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. "We have everything, Mr. Clemmons," Detective Ortiz said. "Text messages. Financial records. Video footage of Russell Gage tampering with your wife's vehicle last night. Audio recordings of you confirming the plan. You wanted your wife to die on Route 7 this morning at Pembroke Curve. But the only thing that died today is your freedom." That's when Sloane arrived. The police had called her, told her there was an emergency involving Julian at the hospital. She came running in, her auburn hair flying behind her, her face full of concern. She saw Julian in handcuffs and stopped dead. "Julian, what's happening?" Detective Ortiz turned to her. "Sloane Hendricks? You're also under arrest as an accessory to conspiracy to commit murder." Sloane's eyes went huge. "What? No. I didn't do anything. I didn't know. We have text messages between you and Mr. Clemmons discussing plans to move to Monaco after Dorothy's death. Messages about spending her inheritance. You knew about the plan, Ms. Hendricks. That makes you an accessory." I watched Sloane's face change. The concern disappeared. Survival instinct kicked in. She looked at Julian, then at the police, then back at Julian. And she made her choice. This was all his idea. Sloane screamed, her voice high and panicked. I didn't know he was actually going to kill her. He told me she was dying anyway. He said she had cancer and only had a few months to live, and this was mercy. I would never have agreed to murder. Sloane, shut up. Julian yelled. Don't say anything. Why should I protect you? You said this was foolproof. You said she'd never know. You said we'd be together and everything would be perfect. Sloane was crying now, mascara running down her face. I have $340,000 in debt, do you understand? I was desperate. He took advantage of me. I took advantage of you? You're the one who said we should kill her. You're the one who found Russell. That's a lie. You contacted Russell. You paid him. They were turning on each other right there in the hospital lobby, both scrambling to save themselves, their relationship imploding in real time. It would have been satisfying if it wasn't so pathetic. Detective Ortiz held up her hand. Both of you need to stop talking. You'll have plenty of time to blame each other in court. The officers led them both away. Sloane was still screaming that it wasn't her fault. Julian had gone silent, his face blank in shock. As they walked past me, Julian looked at me one last time. I don't know what he was expecting. Tears? Anger? Forgiveness? He got nothing. I just stared back at him with no expression at all. Detective Ortiz led me to a conference room where all the evidence was laid out. Video footage of Russell in the garage, cutting my brake lines, tampering with the steering column. Every single text message between Julian and Russell, between Julian and Sloane, between all three of them. Financial records showing the money transfers, the $75,000 payment, the offshore accounts. Phone records. Everything. Russell Gage was arrested at his home at 6 a.m. this morning, Detective Ortiz told me. He gave a full confession in exchange for a reduced sentence. Told us everything. How Julian contacted him 6 months ago. How they planned it all out. Russell even admitted this wasn't his first time doing something like this. We're looking into 3 other suspicious car accidents now that might be connected to him. 3 other people. 3 other murders. And my husband had hired this man. Had trusted him with killing me. Julian had no idea you knew, Detective Ortiz continued. He thought he was coming to the hospital to identify your body. Instead, he walked into a trap of his own making. Poetic justice, if you ask me. Devin came into the room and hugged me tight. I hadn't cried yet, but now in my brother's arms I finally let go. Not tears of sadness. Tears of relief. Of rage. Of betrayal. Of everything. You did it, Devin whispered. You survived. You're safe now. Keiko arrived minutes later, rushed in still in her pajamas with a coat thrown over them. She'd been on standby all morning, ready to provide legal support if anything went wrong. When she saw me alive and Julian in custody, she started crying too. I can't believe you pulled this off, Keiko said. Dorothy, you're the bravest person I've ever met. But I didn't feel brave. I felt shattered. Because the man I loved, the man I'd built a life with, the man I'd trusted completely, had tried to murder me. Not in a moment of passion or rage. This was calculated. Planned. He'd lain in bed next to me for months while plotting my death. He'd kissed me goodbye knowing he was sending me to die. He'd looked me in the eyes and told me he loved me while stealing my money and planning my funeral. Before we go any further, if this story has you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button right now because you need to hear what happened next in court and how Dorothy rebuilt her life. And let me ask you this. If Julian and Sloane both knew they were caught, why do you think they immediately turned on each other instead of staying silent? What does that tell you about their relationship? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The evidence was overwhelming. With Russell's confession, the video footage, the text messages, the financial records, Julian and Sloane didn't stand a chance. Their lawyers tried to make deals, but the prosecution wasn't interested. This was attempted murder. Conspiracy. Fraud. This was going to trial. And I was going to testify. I was going to look Julian in the eyes one more time and tell the world exactly what he'd tried to do to me. 6 months later, I sat in a courtroom and watched my husband's life end. Not literally, though he'd tried to end mine literally. But Julian Clemmons, as he knew himself, as the successful real estate developer, as the charming man who played golf with the police chief, as the husband everyone envied, that man died the day the judge read his sentence. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution presented every piece of evidence we'd gathered. The jury watched the video of Russell Gage cutting my brake lines. They read the text messages where Julian called me an obstacle and discussed my funeral like he was planning a vacation. They saw the financial records showing him stealing from our joint accounts, paying Russell $75,000 upfront with another $75,000 promised after my death. They heard Russell's testimony, how Julian had contacted him, how they'd planned everything, how Julian had specifically chosen Pembroke Curve because the fall would ensure I didn't survive. Sloane's lawyer tried to paint her as a victim, a desperate woman manipulated by an older, wealthier man. But the prosecution had her text messages too. Messages where she talked about redecorating our house after I was gone. Where she picked out engagement rings. Where she researched Monaco real estate because that's where she and Julian planned to live after collecting my inheritance. She wasn't a victim. She was a willing participant who'd chosen money over morality, over someone's life. But the hardest part of the trial wasn't the evidence. It was my testimony. I had to sit on that witness stand and describe what it felt like to find those messages. To realize the man I loved wanted me dead. To lie in bed next to him knowing he was planning my murder. To eat breakfast with him and laugh at his jokes while he was counting down the hours until I'd be gone. The prosecutor asked me, "Mrs. Clemmons, did you ever suspect your husband was unfaithful?" "Never," I said, and my voice cracked. Julian was attentive, loving, considerate. We had date nights every week. He remembered anniversaries, birthdays, small things I mentioned in passing. He seemed like the perfect husband. That's what makes this so devastating. It wasn't just that he wanted to kill me. It's that he was so good at pretending to love me while planning my death. Did you notice any changes in his behavior after your aunt passed away and left you the inheritance? I thought about that. Looking back, yes. Small things I dismissed at the time. He was more interested in my will, asked several times if I'd updated it recently. He seemed anxious when I talked about long-term plans like vacations we'd take in 5 or 10 years. He encouraged me to stick to my routines, especially my morning drive to work. At the time, I thought he was being thoughtful, helping me stay organized. Now I understand he was creating predictability. Making sure I'd be on Route 7 at exactly the right time on exactly the right day. How has this affected you? I looked directly at Julian when I answered. He was sitting at the defense table, staring at his hands, unable to meet my eyes. He didn't just try to take my life. He took my ability to trust. My ability to feel safe. I lie awake at night wondering what else I missed. What other lies did I believe? Were any of our 12 years together real? Did he ever love me even in the beginning? Or was I always just a means to an end? I'll never know. And that's almost worse than the murder attempt itself. He killed something in me that I don't know if I'll ever get back. The courtroom was completely silent. Several jurors were crying. Even the judge looked affected. Julian's lawyer tried to discredit me during cross-examination. Suggested I'd misinterpreted the messages, that perhaps it was all a misunderstanding, a prank gone wrong. But how do you misinterpret she won't make it past Pembroke Curve? How do you misinterpret video footage of someone cutting brake lines? The lawyer knew it was hopeless. Everyone in that courtroom knew it was hopeless. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the forewoman read the verdict. We find the defendant, Julian Clemmons, guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Guilty of attempted murder. Guilty of fraud. Guilty on all counts. Julian's face didn't change. He just sat there staring straight ahead like he'd already left his body and gone somewhere else. Sloane sobbed when her verdict was read. Guilty as an accessory to conspiracy to commit murder. Guilty of fraud. Her expensive lawyer and her tears didn't save her. Russell had already pled guilty months before in exchange for his testimony, but he was sentenced the same day as Julian and Sloane. The judge wanted us all there together, wanted us to see justice served at the same time. When it came time for sentencing, the judge looked at all 3 of them with something like disgust. Judge Patricia Hammond had presided over thousands of cases in her 30-year career. But this one seemed to affect her deeply. She sentenced Russell first. "Mr. Gage, you are a hired killer. You've admitted to possibly being involved in 3 other suspicious deaths. You showed no hesitation in attempting to murder an innocent woman for money. While your cooperation with this investigation is noted, your actions warrant severe punishment. I sentence you to 15 years in state prison without possibility of parole. Russell's head dropped. 15 years. He was 51 years old. He'd be 66 when he got out if he lived that long. Then Sloane. Miss Hendricks, you claim you were manipulated, that you didn't fully understand what you were participating in. The evidence contradicts this. You actively discussed how to spend Mrs. Clemmons's inheritance after her death. You researched where you would live, what you would buy. You knew she was going to die and you were excited about it. That makes you complicit in attempted murder. I sentence you to 8 years in state prison. Sloane let out a wail. 8 years. She was 28. She'd be 36 when she was released. Her youth, her beauty, everything she'd counted on to get her through life, would be gone. She'd be a convicted felon. No one from her wealthy family was in the courtroom. They'd disowned her completely. Finally, Julian. Judge Hammond looked at him for a long moment before speaking. When she did, her voice was cold and hard. Mr. Clemmons, I've presided over many murder cases. Crimes of passion, crimes of rage, crimes of desperation. But what you did is particularly heinous because it was calculated. You didn't kill your wife in a moment of anger. You planned her death for months. You lied to her face daily. You held her, kissed her, told her you loved her, all while counting down to the day she would die. You slept in the same bed with her knowing you'd hired someone to murder her. Julian was shaking. Actually physically shaking in his chair. You didn't just attempt murder, Mr. Clemmons. You murdered your wife's ability to trust, to feel safe, to believe in love. That damage is immeasurable. Dorothy Clemmons will carry the scars of your betrayal for the rest of her life. And for what? Money. A younger woman. Your greed and your selfishness nearly cost an innocent person her life. Judge Hammond's voice got even harder. I want you to understand something. If Dorothy hadn't been as intelligent, as brave, as resourceful as she is, she would be dead right now. You would have gotten away with this. You would have collected her inheritance, married your mistress, and lived happily while Dorothy's family grieved. The only reason you're sitting here in handcuffs is because you underestimated your wife. You thought she was weak. You were catastrophically wrong. The judge paused, looking at the sentencing guidelines in front of her. The prosecution has recommended 20 years. I'm not following that recommendation. Julian Clemmons, I sentence you to 25 years in state prison without the possibility of parole. You will be 67 years old when you are released. The life you wanted to steal from Dorothy, I'm taking from you instead. You will spend the best years of your life behind bars, thinking about what you've done. May that time give you the opportunity to develop the conscience you so clearly lack. 25 years. No parole. Julian would be an old man when he got out. His real estate business was already gone, sold to pay legal fees and restitution. His reputation was destroyed. Every news outlet had covered the trial. Everyone knew what he'd done. His own parents had disowned him, told reporters they were ashamed to share his name. As the bailiffs led Julian away, he looked at me one final time. I don't know what he saw in my face. I wasn't crying. I wasn't angry. I wasn't anything. I was empty. The man I'd loved was already dead to me. This was just the body going to prison. After the sentencing, Keiko, Devon, and I went out to dinner. We didn't celebrate. How could we? Yes, justice had been served. Yes, Julian, Sloane, and Russell would spend years in prison. But I'd lost 12 years of my life to a lie. I'd lost my ability to trust. I'd lost the future I thought I was building. You don't celebrate that. You just survive it. What are you going to do now? Devon asked me over dinner. I'd been thinking about that for months. I'm leaving Connecticut. Too many memories. Too many people who know what happened. I need a fresh start. Where will you go? Keiko asked. Portland. Oregon. I've never been there. Don't know anyone. That's exactly what I need. And that's what I did. 3 weeks after the sentencing, I moved to Portland. I legally changed my name not because I was hiding but because I wanted to shed the Clemmons name like a skin that didn't fit anymore. I became Dorothy Fletcher using my grandmother's maiden name. A new name for a new life. I used Aunt Bernice's inheritance to start a foundation. The Bernice Fletcher Foundation for Survivors. We help people who've experienced domestic violence, financial abuse, stalking, any situation where someone they trusted hurt them. We provide legal assistance, financial counseling, therapy, housing support, everything survivors need to rebuild their lives. Because I understood now what it meant to have your life shattered by someone who claimed to love you. I became an advocate for financial literacy for women specifically. I started teaching workshops on how to protect yourself financially in a relationship, how to maintain separate accounts, how to recognize financial red flags, how to document everything. Because if I, a forensic accountant, could miss the signs of financial abuse in my own marriage, anyone could. The work was healing. Every woman I helped, every person who came through our doors scared and broken and then left stronger, it healed something in me too. I was taking what Julian tried to destroy and turning it into something powerful. Dating again was hard. The first time a man asked me out 18 months after the trial, I had a panic attack in the bathroom. How could I trust anyone? How could I let someone into my life when the last person I trusted tried to kill me? But my therapist reminded me that not everyone is Julian. Most people are good. Most people don't plot murder for money. I started dating slowly. Very slowly. Coffee dates only for the first 3 months. Public places. I told potential partners about my past up front. If they couldn't handle it, better to know early. Some men disappeared when they heard the story. That was fine. Better they leave than stay and hurt me later. But I met someone eventually. His name is Aaron. He's a teacher, patient and kind, with a 10-year-old daughter from a previous marriage. He knows everything about Julian, about the trial, about my trust issues. He doesn't push. He lets me set the pace. We've been dating for 8 months now and I'm starting to believe I can do this. I can let someone in again. Slowly. Carefully. But maybe. Devin visits every few months. Keiko and I video chat weekly. They're my anchors, the people who saved my life, who helped me through the darkest time. I don't know what I would have done without them. On my desk in my home office I keep a photo of Aunt Bernice. It's from her 80th birthday party. She's laughing, holding a glass of champagne, surrounded by family. She looks so happy, so full of life. Sometimes I talk to her picture. You saved my life twice, Aunt Bernice, I tell her. Once with your love, teaching me to be strong and independent. And once with your money, because without that inheritance, Julian never would have tried to kill me. I never would have known what he was. I might have spent the rest of my life with him, never knowing I was sleeping next to a monster. Your gift gave me the chance to see the truth and save myself. Thank you. I think she'd be proud of what I've done with the inheritance. Not just surviving, but helping others survive. Building something meaningful from something terrible. 3 years after the trial, I'm okay. Not perfect. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still freeze up when someone mentions Route 7 or Pembroke Curve. I still flinch when I see silver Honda Accords. But I'm building a life I'm proud of. A life that's mine, built on truth instead of lies. And here's what I want you to understand. If you're watching this and something feels wrong in your relationship, trust that instinct. Trust it. I ignored small signs for months. The way Julian flinched when I mentioned updating my will. How he insisted I keep the same routine, encouraged me to always take the same route to work. How he became distant after Aunt Bernice died but blamed it on work stress. How he suddenly wanted me to get more life insurance. These weren't big red flags waving in my face. They were small things, easy to dismiss, easy to explain away. But my gut knew something was wrong. I just didn't listen. Love shouldn't feel like control. Love shouldn't make you feel like you have to be careful about what you say or do. Love shouldn't require you to ignore your instincts. If someone truly loves you, you'll feel safe with them. You'll feel like you can be completely yourself. You'll feel like they want you to thrive, not like they're managing you or manipulating you. And to anyone out there planning harm, anyone thinking they can get away with hurting someone who trusts them, remember this. The person you underestimate might be smarter than you think. I was a forensic accountant. I spend my life following money trails and uncovering lies. That's literally my job. Julian forgot that. He saw me as his naive wife who would never suspect him. He forgot I'm trained to see through deception, to find hidden accounts, to spot fraud. His biggest mistake wasn't trying to kill me. His biggest mistake was underestimating me. Document everything. Something feels off, screenshot it. Save it. Email it to yourself. Create a paper trail. Because if you ever need to prove what happened, you'll have evidence. I documented everything and it saved my life. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more incredible survival stories like this one, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And here's my final question for you. What would you have done differently in Dorothy's situation? Would you have confronted Julian immediately, or would you have set the trap like she did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below because I read every single one. Trust your gut. Document everything. You are stronger than you know. You are smarter than they think. And you deserve a life built on truth, not lies. I'm Dorothy Fletcher. I survived. And if you're in a situation where you need to survive, you can too. Thank you for listening to my story. As I drive down the highway now, 3 years later, watching the sun rise over the mountains, I feel something I didn't think I'd ever feel again. Hope. The road ahead is open. The future is mine to create. And no one will ever take that from me again. Trust yourself. Protect yourself. And never, ever ignore that voice inside that tells you something is wrong. It might just save your life.